So I've got three different stories today. Dvalishvili refuses to fight Nurmagomedov in December. Dana White blocks Muhammad Mokaev's grappling match. And Juliana Pena leaks a UFC phone call about Amanda Nunes' return. So let's get into it. So recently there's been talks about Dvalishvili defending his bantamweight title against the number 2 ranked contender Nurmagomedov. But yesterday in an interview with Ariel Helwani, Merab says he doesn't want to fight in December, and also he doesn't want to fight Nurmagomedov, and he actually wants a rematch with Sean O'Malley instead. So speaking on Ariel Helwani's MMA Hour, so first we'll listen to what Merab had to say, and then I'll give my thoughts on the situation.
I'm a champion, and then what I see, every champion takes time and enjoy and traveling and do business, and I'm doing same thing. And then usually I get, if I get 2 times fight in 1 year, it's very good in UFC. So, and then I already fought 2 times 2024. I wanna fight 3 times in 2025. So, and that's my plan if it's worked out. So I don't know why people blame on me, like, you know, like, I don't want to come back December. Like, it's stupid. I'm a champion now, and I want to take my time off, and I want to enjoy my time. And so if UFC offers me Sean O'Malley, I would love to fight him. If UFC offer me and somebody else, I will fight. I'm a champion now, and I'm not making. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some champion makes decision, but I don't care. They give me whoever is next contender, and I will fight. But my best option will be Sean O'Malley, but hey, if only if UFC wants me fight Sean O'Malley, this way I will fight him. If not anybody else, we will see that. So
it's interesting, obviously, he says if the UFC offers him a fight, he is willing to fight Sean O'Malley or anybody else, but clearly everybody knows that Nurmagomedov is the #1 contender and he is next for the bantamweight title. But Merab seems to be reluctant to mention Nurmagomedov's name. Now, I just have to say I do respect Dvalishvili as a fighter, but it's very clear that he doesn't want to fight Nurmagomedov, and he is dragging his feet, doing anything he possibly can to avoid that fight. From the perspective of a prize fighter, obviously Merab, he wants to fight the easier fight that pays him the most money, and in the division, Sean O'Malley is probably the biggest money fight. But from a credibility perspective, Nurmagomedov is the fight, and that's who he should be fighting next, and he clearly knows that Umar is the next contender, so he needs to accept that. Maybe he just wants to sell the fight, maybe he's just trying to dismiss Nurmagomedov to build the fight and trying to make Umar angry before they actually fight. But, you know, everybody knows the UFC doesn't like Dvalishvili, and if he keeps dragging his feet, the UFC will force him into, you know, an unfavorable position where he has to take the fight, and if he doesn't take the fight, my prediction is that if Dvalishvili doesn't fight Nurmagomedov, the UFC will probably make an interim bantamweight title fight between Nurmagomedov and somebody else. They'll probably make it between Davison Figueiredo and Nurmagomedov. That's the fight they'll probably make. If they don't, they could potentially make an interim bantamweight title fight between Sean O'Malley and Nurmagomedov as well. Obviously, we know that Sean O'Malley was injured in the fight with Merab, so he may potentially need surgery. But, you know, Dvalishvili needs to just get his ass into gear. If I was Merab, I would just take the fight with the Nurmagomedov straight away. Get it out of the way. You know, if you want to, prove the world wrong, shock the world and beat Nurmagomedov and shut everybody up. Even if you lose to Nurmagomedov, you're still going to make a couple $1 million. It's best to be an active champion because that pays higher rewards. You can use that as leverage to get paid more money from the UFC. So, you know, Dvalishvili, he needs to just fight Nurmagomedov ASAP, get that fight out of the way, make his money, and if he's scared of losing that fight, at least he's won 2 title fights and he's made himself a few $1 million. He's set himself up for life. So that's my opinion on it. Give me your thoughts, what you think about the situation. And just to let you know, guys, I've recently launched a new YouTube mentorship called YouTube 10X, where I teach creators how to 10X their views and revenue on YouTube. Recently, I helped all of these creators get monetized on YouTube. I also helped this creator reach 75,000 subscribers in 2 months. If you're interested in joining YouTube 10X, I'll leave a link in the description of this video. And for the next story, Dana White blocks Muhammad Mokaev versus Raul Rosa Jr. grappling match. Now, recently, this is a grappling match that was scheduled to take place the day before UFC 308 in Abu Dhabi. Apparently, the UFC has blocked it. Dana White has blocked this match, and he's not allowing Raul Rosa Jr. to compete against Muhammad Mokaev in his grappling match. The event where it was taking place was ADX, and they have released a statement giving their side of the story as to why the fight was cancelled, and they've released a statement saying, due to unforeseen circumstances, Muhammad Mokaev versus Raul Rosa Jr. has been cancelled at the ADX C6 main event. The show must go on. Stay tuned for a new grappling main event to be announced soon. On Twitter, Muhammad Mokaev gave his side of the story as to why the match was cancelled, and he says, I have a lot of respect towards Raul Rosa Jr. Unfortunately, UFC didn't let him to compete. I wish you all the best, bro. To me, it looks like Muhammad Mokaev is trying to pull a fast one on the UFC and use a rising star in the UFC as a stepping stone to potentially put him on a highlight reel, submit him, tap him out or whatever, and just use that to kind of try and gain some clout and a little bit of relevance. But in reality, the UFC would never let that happen because, you know, Raul Rosa Jr. is a big star in the UFC, a potential big star in the UFC. And also, the UFC doesn't like Muhammad Mokaev. As we know, Mokaev recently parted ways with the UFC on bad terms. Apparently, he's hard to deal with behind the scenes. The UFC brass do not like him. So this makes sense as to why Dana White and the UFC would cancel this match and they wouldn't let it proceed. I get it. I understand it. I do respect Muhammad Mokaev as a fighter. I think he's a fantastic fighter. He's exciting. You know, he's got a great personality. He's funny. But I can see why the UFC cancelled this. He's trying to pull a fast one and use one of the UFC's rising stars as a stepping stone. And the UFC stepped in, which from a business perspective, it makes absolute sense. And for the final story, Juliana Pena leaks a UFC phone call about Amanda Nunes' return. Recently speaking on the MMA Hour, Juliana Pena, you know, I'm just going to read this report, what it says. Juliana Pena throws out another baseless steroid accusation as she reveals a phone call she had with the UFC regarding Amanda Nunes' comeback. Speaking with Ariel Helwani, she spoke about a recent title fight with Raquel Pennington. And after that fight, the UFC actually put Kayla Harrison on screen because they wanted to try and build that fight between Juliana Pena and Kayla Harrison. Juliana Pena, she refused to acknowledge Kayla Harrison in the crowd. And also after this, Amanda Nunes posted a video on social media, like dancing and saying that she wanted Dana White to call her, basically implying that she's ready to come back. In this video, in this interview with Ariel Helwani, apparently Juliana Pena, she spoke on the phone with Dana White in the UFC. They told her Amanda Nunes wants to come back, but she wants to fight the winner of Juliana Pena versus Kayla Harrison. And she also made steroid accusations about Amanda Nunes as well. First, we'll listen to what Juliana Pena had to say about Amanda Nunes coming back, and then I'll give you my thoughts on the situation.
You win the fight, they go split screen, Kayla's sitting there, Kayla Harrison, who beat Caitlin Vieira, and you kind of not... You decide not to address her. You spoke only of Amanda. I don't think you ever like spoke of her in that moment. Why did you do that? Why did you not talk about her?
Let's take it back, okay? Let's take it back to me booing Amanda Nunes when she retired in Canada. I knew that she was retiring too early. I knew that she didn't want this third fight with me and that she was like literally blessing in disguise that she didn't wait for me and fought Irene Aldana instead and then retired. Then when, you know, Kayla was going to fight Holly, she gives a victory speech to Joe and she never mentions Amanda's name, so much to the point where it's like she's talking all this smack about Amanda the whole time, and then she gets her first win in the UFC, and Amanda's in front of her TV being like, what was that? You didn't say my name? That's what I thought. That's what I thought. You know, and it's like, no one, she's like Voldemort in the MMA world with these girls. No one wants to say her name, but I know somebody who wants to say her name, and I know somebody who is only saying her name, and that person is me. And you can see that I'm right, because the next day she made a video shaking her ass and tagging Dana and I miss you and I want to come back. So when they give me a call, they say she wants to face the winner of you versus Kayla. And so she will come back, but she's waiting to fight the winner. So she thinks I'm going to lose to Kayla. And when I beat Kayla, then she's going to say I stay retired. But
you think so?
Kayla wins, yeah. But if Kayla wins, then she's going to come out of retirement and look like some hero. Because the reality is this, and I know this for a fact, She feels that she doesn't have anything to prove against me, and she feels that she hates Kayla more than she does want to prove something and fight me for a trilogy. So she doesn't. First fight, I took her pride. Second fight, I took her soul. And she walked out of there with freaking elephantitis on half her face, crutches, in a wheelchair. She knows that it's not going to be some walk in the park, easy night in the office. She knows that she's going to, like, no amount of money that they pay her is going to be worth the amount of damage that she's going to have to sustain in this fight, because I'm not going away. And she knows that. And so, again, I know she wants to fight. It was the right call out, and it makes me so mad that DC was like, oh, she dropped the ball, she dropped the ball. Really? I dropped the ball the next day while she's shaking her ass and tagging Dana and saying, please call me? I know she wants to fight. I know she retired too early, and so does Dana, and so does the promotion. It's just, that is the fight that entices me to want to get out of bed every morning. All these fights make me want to get out of bed every morning. Truly, I'm blessed that I get to do this. But what I'm saying is, I want the big fights. If I wasn't gonna, like, I want to fight Ronda Rousey. Girl was freaking running from me for years too. I want.
All right, so what she's saying, I do believe that it makes sense, but in my opinion, I think that she should fight Kayla Harrison next, because, you know, obviously Kayla is a rising star in the UFC, and she's the biggest fight in the bantamweight division, you know, so she may as well just fight Kayla Harrison, get that fight out of the way, and then if she beats Kayla Harrison, this could potentially entice Amanda Nunes back. But for me, really, it doesn't make sense for Amanda Nunes to come straight back, because, you know, Amanda Nunes, she's fought all the biggest possible money fights in the UFC. She beat Ronda Rousey, she beat Holly Holmes, she beat Chris Cyborg. All of these matchups, she's had the biggest money fights in her career. And, you know, for me personally, I don't think Juliana Pena is a big draw. She doesn't draw a lot of pay-per-view sales. So this really, it's not going to make Amanda Nunes any more money than she's already made. She might make a few $1 million, a couple $1 million. So I can see she doesn't really want to jump off the couch for that fight with Pena. But Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes, it is a bigger fight, and that fight will sell, because obviously Kayla Harrison is a former Olympian. They're former teammates. They've got a little bit of a backstory, a little bit of a rivalry, and also they know stuff about each other because they've trained together on numerous occasions. So that fight is a bigger fight. That fight is just, it's going to make more money for the UFC. And literally, that's the reason the UFC signed Kayla Harrison, to make that fight and to draw Amanda Nunes back. Because Amanda Nunes, she is a big draw in the UFC. She brings in the numbers, she moves the needle, and Dana White knows that. And that's why he brought Kayla Harrison in. They're hoping that Kayla Harrison wins so they can book the fight with Amanda Nunes. So that's my thoughts on the situation. But give me your thoughts on the situation. Do you think Amanda Nunes will come back and fight Juliana Pena again? Or do you think Nunes will only come back if Kayla Harrison beats Juliana Pena? Give me your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what you think.